Howdy, gang, and welcome back to the Masters of Real Estate podcast, aka the More podcast, where we interview stars and rising stars of the real estate investing game and seek to discover their secrets of success. We're excited you're here. Welcome back, everyone. This is Bill Guting. There's Kimmy P.
Hello, everyone.
And we have a very special guest that we're really excited about because she says she's game for anything. So we will see.
Okay, you guys. There you go.
She's like, second thought, maybe not.
Yeah. And I'm talking about the one and only DL Campbell. So maybe she's rethinking it because she's thinking, where is this anything road going to go down? So anyway, but we've got a lot to tap into. Kimmy P, you spoke with DL not that long ago. So why were you so excited to have her on the show?
I'm always excited because I feel like we are the underrepresented class, which is female, in the commercial multifamily space in general. Because every time I go to a meeting, you look around, it's only like one hand. One hand.
And maybe even just a couple of fingers.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
85%, yeah.
So I'm excited because Dio has a lot of experience, okay? And she's also the second female investors that we have on the show that focus on development. Ha. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So really is, I want to encourage women to come out there. I'm not excluding men here. Okay. So, but there's so many of you, we just encourages more women to come out. So I'm excited to have DL on a podcast.
Yeah. So we're excited. We're gonna tap into this deep well of anything and tap into DL's 20 plus years of commercial real estate experience. So how about if we start there, DL? Just encapsulate it for us and give us a little bit of background, history, whatever you want to share. Go back as far as you want to go to give our folks some context.
Yeah, as far as you can remember.
Okay. Well, I was born a small child.
I was too.
Were you? Okay,
Yeah.
we're all in the same boat here. That's phenomenal. Yeah, and so I appreciate your time. I know that you guys have a busy schedule and running your investments as well. So I appreciate that. You're including me today. I have 18 years of commercial real estate experience, and it spans from the multifamily space to retail and self-storage and light industrial, phase value engineering, owner operations. So when I got started in commercial real estate almost a couple decades ago, I picked up a small apartment complex and forced about 85% vacancy. I forced out all the drug dealers and the prostitutes, and I did the rehab, and I re-tenanted that first year with small working families, with elderly, disabled, and we just saw the whole neighborhood kind of settle down, and it had been a drug property for a couple decades. So thank goodness I didn't know that. But I turned it around the first year. I doubled the value the first year, and then I held on to it for a total of 6 years. So that was my journey. Started that in 2009, and I've done phase value engineering for conversion from a lot to self-storage, or from a warehouse to self-storage. I've done evaluations of just thousands of properties. And today, we actually moved over about 2 weeks ago to a contiguous property right next to our 23 acres. We close on that November 7th, and we are pushing hard for our entitlements. We're really doing well with that. We're building about 400 Class A luxury multifamily apartments that are larger units. Our tenant type is the single young professional. in a Dallas market that is phenomenal. Our rents are higher than any Texas city, and our professionals actually get paid more than any Texas city. So you all know Texas is great, but people, I don't think, know the real numbers behind the Dallas market. So we are so excited to be doing that today.
Wow. So that's a lot. Phase value engineering, though, that's one term that I haven't heard too much of. What exactly is that? Phase value engineering?
Well, it's optimizing. It's finding a property, and like for one property in Los Alamitos a few years back, I actually found about 100 more units on the property that in order to develop that. So it's streamlining, optimizing as well. And I just love that. I had about 30 years as an engineer, with my clients being Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin. I worked for the Army, so I've flown everywhere and I've worked everywhere. And I have that engineering in my blood. So this, working on this development this time is really exceptional. We have a former property, a sister property in Northwest Austin, where it was 240 units, a one-phase build in 2018, and a Class A luxury. And so we were a part of that project. Our sister project is sold for a profit of $22 million in 2021. But the reason I'm telling you that, just for track record, but also for we need to determine in today's market what asset class we want to be focused on, because we saw retail tank just recently.
Yep.
I mean, who knew? And we saw the Class C and the Class B properties have this eviction moratorium. Now prices are so high with our Class B and our Class C multifamily that all of the appreciation is gone. So there's nowhere for that appreciation to go but down. You're going to lose that appreciation. You have cash flow, but we only have cash flow this time. And so it's a really hard market for any other asset class other than the Class A, the luxury, which is recession-proof.
Okay. Well, that's a good word that a lot of people like to hear. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more. So, wow. Okay. So you just mentioned that it's important to really start focusing in on a specific asset class. But man, when we look at your background, you've done so much over the last 18 plus years. You've been involved in retail, light industrial, multifamily. I think self-storage was included in there, even though you started off with, it sounded like you had turning around a multifamily project, right? So of all the asset classes now that you've had a chance to touch and be involved in, you pick, it sounds like multifamily, right?
Right,
So,
and it's not like multifamily is my favorite, which is not as too emotional for me. But with the Class A luxury, we're talking about a professional tenant, they're, six-figure income, and those people are focused on going to work, build their career,
right,
and paying rent is an afterthought. They're just going to do it no matter what happens. So that is attractive as an asset type to me. And people have to have a place to rent, or they have to have a place to buy. So they're coming to the Dallas market. They can't find a place to rent. They can't find a place to buy. And we are running to meet that demand.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not necessarily your favorite. It's just the arena of greatest opportunity. Did I hear that right?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So, and you're focusing on primarily Class A. Okay. So, and for all the reasons so let's dive into that a little bit. So why, okay, multifamily, we understand that, and then to build specific properties, Class A, why did you choose, and why do you think that's the greatest opportunity in today's market?
Well, it is recession proof. And we saw retail tank, light industrial held its own because people need to buy stuff and store stuff and they need to live. It's all circling around people. But it comes back to which asset class do we want to invest our time and money in? It's recession proof. So that is why we are actually focused on that. And we're going to be doing a couple Class A luxury in the Dallas market as well.
Got it.
Okay, so maybe I'm getting my information mixed up, because I was told that when we're in a recession, stay away from Class A. You need to focus on Class B and C plus. And did I get that information incorrect?
Well, and that is the paradigm shift that I'm going to disagree with all of those gurus who are still telling people to dive in and buy C class and B class because you can still make money there. That is true. But the real reason and the beauty of commercial is that you have, on the one hand, you have appreciation, and on the other hand, that you have the cash flow. And you want to be focused on an off-market property where you have both of those, because if you don't have the cash flow, at least you have the appreciation, you can get out. Why would you buy a property that's one-legged already? The opportunity would be off-market, which that's where I found our property as well. So the numbers they really sing. The numbers are off the chart. We're working with the seller directly, so all the communication is transparent. We're not paying a broker, and the property value, it is a godsend. It took me from August of last year to December to find something and put it under contract, because it needs to have the multifamily zoning and it needs to have utilities to the lot. This is also infill, so it's not 2 hours away from Dallas or an hour away from Dallas where there are no jobs. We're hitting 3 job markets in Dallas. And so I'm going to have a different mindset from all of those gurus who still have to sell packages. And it is better than being in the stock market, granted. But it is not as good as focusing on an asset class that is recession proof and focusing on finding those off-market properties from a probate attorney or a divorce attorney, driving for dollars. That's where the real gold is, as you know.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Got it.
So it sounds like, so a lot of the stuff that you've done previously, I'm sure it sounds like some development was, have you always been involved in some form of development throughout your career, or has that just been the focus recently?
Well, that's a great question. And when I had my property in East Dallas, a small multifamily, there was a contiguous property that we did some evaluations and worked with a DC on putting another 50 units right next door. We ended up not doing that, but also working on the phase value engineering and working on the construction side. It just interests me. So this is an opportunity to take that developer lead and piggyback on our sister property in Austin, but take the developer lead and drive those entitlements, get the permits and break ground. And then when the GC takes over, they're going to perform to the bond that they have to the bank. And my experience does not lie in general contracting. So we're going to be the receiver of information at that point. And then when we get at our building, we'll pick it up and get the keys and start leasing out. So it's a huge property. The asset value is about $200 million, all
Wow.
said and done. yes, it's a signature property. So it is something that is definitely too big for one person. We have a stellar co-GP team, and everybody is working really hard on it.
Okay, let's dive into that a little bit. Okay, man, because it's complicated enough just acquiring a property, rehabbing it. I don't know what the figure is, but man, you double, triple, quadruple the moving parts involved when you're talking about developing a project. Yeah. So, so going the development route, so why did you choose to go that route versus just acquiring existing stuff and existing property? Why development?
Yeah, that is a great analysis as well, because for one thing, we can develop for $100,000 cheaper than it is to buy right now.
Really?
Prices are sky high. Yeah, if you wanted to buy a Class A luxury, it would be an equivalent of about $350,000 a door, where we can build for $265,000 a door. That's a big savings overall. So it depends on your investment phase of life as well. I've been a fiduciary, and my kids are grown. They're on their own, so I don't have to have that immediate income, that immediate cash flow in the first year. Don't need that, and it's a bigger opportunity on the back end as well because of the profit. The profit margin.
Wow. Okay. I did not realize that. Okay. So let me just recap those. No, go ahead, Kimmy.
No, I was saying even with this supply chain issue, price skyrocketing.
Yeah.
You still think that developing is still less than you purchase something that's already.
Yeah, because that's a stunning statement that you just made. That it's like, I think the number you said was to buy Class A in the current market, $365 a door, but you can actually build for $265 a door. So that's a tremendous imbalance there. What was
it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your question, Kimmy P? You were talking about supply chain. You're probably wondering, like, wait a minute. It seems like we're in an inflationary environment where labor is skyrocketing. Building materials are a little bit unpredictable, right? There's a lot going on in the world with more potential supply chain disruption, right? The world seems to be reshuffling a little bit. You've got all these factors going on. How does that make you feel though? And more importantly, if you're able to contain the costs now, how the heck do you continue containing the costs in a period of a little bit of uncertainty with interest rates gyrating all over the place too?
There's a lot of uncertainty in the market.
Yes.
And I do have almost a couple decades of commercial real estate. So the answer to a lot of those questions where we don't have control over it, number one, a lot of prayer. And of course.
We're familiar with that. We use that strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, we know we need to know where to walk and where not to walk, right? And we need wisdom and revelation knowledge in everything that we do. So that's a secret. Don't tell anybody because there'll be heavy competition if they start using that strategy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So
the other thing that we do use from a logic standpoint is very conservative underwriting, ultra conservative underwriting. And that comes from seeing these kind of things over and over again in the past couple decades, where if you're ultra conservative in your underwriting and you're underwriting at the worst case scenario, then things can go awry in one area and then level off in another area and it'll balance out. So you will sleep well. The problem, and this is a big problem with today's market, is that we have some people that have a few years of multifamily experience, and they haven't seen interest rates at 7%. That's not normal to them. So they're used to underwriting at 3 or 4%. That's not a normal situation.
No.
Those deals should be failing before investors get involved.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people are moaning and screaming about where interest rates are today, but I can't quite remember the figure, but I think it was pre 2001 or something like that, that interest rates were never below, I think it was 5-point-something%. And so that's around where we're at now. And it's like, yeah. So, okay. So very conservative underwriting is a primary tool that you have to mitigate risk, right?
It mitigates the risk. Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You probably use that a lot in your deals with your investors as well. Ultra conservative.
You have to be, right? Because now, so especially if you're taking on heavy lifts, so not only do you have the labor issue that you've got to contend with, you've got building materials that are totally out of your control, interest rates that are out of your control, and then throw in some other elements here. The cycle is a little bit extended now, right? You're not going to be into production and into cash flow until, I don't know when it is, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. And then you've got a lot of people with big megaphones out there squawking a lot, talking about downturns, recessions. You've got the stock market going like this, like a roller coaster. Yeah. You've got Bitcoin that is dipped by 70%. And even though that may sound like it's not directly related, it's psychology that messes with a lot of people's minds and makes people just kind of put their hands in their pocket. And it almost becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy when you see enough of this. So those are just some other elements. I know I'm sounding like, man, I'm really pouring water on this, but these are the things. We're not just picking on like development. We think about these things also on every single project that we look at. Yes. And it's like, how do we mitigate against that? So you're right, man, on how to mitigate risk. We're looking at we've definitely adjusted our underwriting. And I think you do a lot of these elements as well, but we focus a lot on selection. We only invest in specific areas, in specific submarkets, in specific neighborhoods, job growth, population growth, in-migration has to be in place. So, I think a lot of things are similar, but
very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. All of those things from an experienced investor and in commercial, those all have to come into play. It's not just one. So I'm glad that you mentioned all of those places where you can mitigate risk.
Oh man. Yeah. I think we all,
Excellent.
Right? Yeah. I think we all have to be focused on stuff like that, right? As times get a little bit more unpredictable, it seems like, right? And everyone these days has a megaphone, it seems like, right? Yeah.
At least, I'm glad that people are starting to talk about it, because for a long time while we were in the recession, people were just, laissez-faire, and they weren't even thinking about it being a recession and things are going to actually continue. So I agree wholeheartedly. We underwrite very carefully for the vacancy rate. Even though Dallas vacancy is 3%, we put 7% in our underwriting. Even though inflation is at 8%, we put 3% in our underwriting. Our operating expenses are set at 38%, even though a new build operating expenses are 25%. So every place we can, we build buffers in, and that's how we report our investment, and our opportunities. So we're doing the same thing that you guys are.
Yeah, very cool.
And it's it feels like it's tough because there's not enough people being reasonable and logical about these things. It's all and only about the numbers, so it has to make sense, financially.
Yeah. And in as many instances as possible, as well as we're looking to lock our rates too, just so we have a little bit of certainty on what we're facing. So that's another thing that we do as well.
Sure.
So a word that you use that I think a lot of people love to hear, right, especially right now, is recession proof.
Mhm.
So why do you think, Class A, I love the area, of course, right? The area has a lot going for it. The DFW market is fantastic. We're big fans of that market as well, right? So it checks off all the boxes on job growth, population growth, in-migration, right? The right type of jobs. It's got a lot of those factors, but there's not a lot of assets that you can say you can call recession proof. Why would you say it's recession?
Right. Well, for one, people always need to have a place to live, but we do want them to pay rent. We don't want them to get away with Congress, having another rent moratorium. The Supreme Court has told the CDC they can't do that again. It's actually unlawful, but Congress could do that. They could say, hey, don't pay your rent and, wait a year and we'll pay it for you. But the professional tenant type is not looking at that in any way, shape, or form. They are going to work, building their career, and as an afterthought, they pay rent early. So that's one reason that the Class A luxury is recession-proof. We saw it on our sister property built in 2018, and it sold in 2021. It stayed stable. Enough to sell at a $22 million profit in 2021. So another property type that would be recession proof would be light industrial, where it is servicing the people, automotive, when the recession peaks, then people don't buy new cars, they fix their cars. So I like automotive retail as well.
Oh, okay. Light industrial is another area. Automotive retail. Okay, got it. Yep. You need your car to be humming at all times, no matter what, right? It's like you're not going to let it go. You're not going to let it sit for very long. Or nothing's happened in your life.
especially it costs a lot, especially now where you can't get a car, you have to be on the waiting list, and the price has gone up.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend yesterday. She was sharing her friend's daughter got a car for 25, got a total, and she got 12,000 more than what she paid for. But then now she has to go buy another car. Then she paid a lot more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so DL, what would you say? You can probably point to a lot of different things, but of everything that you do, what's the toughest part about development? What is the biggest one or two challenges you have to face?
One or two.
One or two or three or four or five, six.
Well, and this is great. Kimmy asked about supply chain. With a big project like ours, we're being prioritized over other projects, over conversions and things like that. So that's one way to resolve that. I thought it was going to be a challenge, but when I interviewed about 11 general contractors, I got 3 cost per square foot that were the same. A lot of people didn't want to bid if they were out of state, or they didn't know the area. They didn't know how to adjust for that. But I did get that price per square foot, that was actually to the dollar, the same estimate. So we're not afraid of that. Now, lumber was higher over the last couple of years, but it started to come down over the past couple months. And we started to look at alternative material types, looking at ICF, which is insulated concrete form. And there are so many advantages of using an alternative material type. I could go on we have YouTube videos of that, a 9-minute video that is so good. I would say for me as an engineer, landlord kind of a person, the people aspect is harder for me. But we've been able to resolve a lot of that by being even more selective. For example, when we go out and get a bid for geotechnical surveying, we'll get 6 bids. We'll do an RFP for 6 proposals, and then we'll probably get 1 or 2 or 3 back in a week. And we won't always pick the cheapest one, because that's where your heartburn is, and that's where you have to go and kind of roll up your sleeves and make them work, for example. But if we are looking at a new industry sector, then we'll probably pick the medium priced one if it's the same quality, and even pay a little more for it to resolve some of those people problems. And that's been a good solution for us.
So supply chain primarily is the biggest challenge, and sourcing stuff. And then I guess this depends on area also, but we know other developers as well, but they're not in Texas, so maybe that makes a big difference. But a lot of them point to the whole entitlement process as being a primary challenge too. But I would imagine maybe that's not as big a challenge in your turf, because it's so pro-business, pro-growth, that it probably feels a little bit more, or is it a challenge?
It probably is. I don't have the comparison of working in other states in terms of entitlements, but I do know that, with having the landlord-tenant laws like in the Carolinas and California, New York, it takes forever to get a bad tenant out. But in Texas, I could get a tenant out in 3 weeks if I needed to for non-payment. So it is more business oriented. You're exactly right. I think that environmentals are always the hardest to get through in your entitlements, but we're seeing that the rest of the city departments are very welcoming, and they are really helping us out in getting our entitlements for, traffic impact report, the water and wastewater impact report, all of those other things that we need to be finishing. Those departments are just very welcoming.
Okay, got it. All right. So, Kimmy P, anything on your mind that you wanted to slice and dice up?
I don't know. I heard a lot of pros about development. What would you say is the negative thing about development?
It's a long, hard haul. It's not for everybody. I found that the people who are working best on our team are logic-oriented, task-oriented, not as people-oriented. And so knowing your people in that way helps. Somebody who is people-oriented is going to be much more interested in leasing or maybe interior design, those kind of things. And that is a great scope for them. This is a long, hard haul. It is, we're not seeing a lot of wins every day because it's longer wins. And the order that I get really, Kimmy, is, life is not really black and white most of the time, right? It's
gray sometimes.
To run. And it's learning to run in the gray areas of life. You're exactly right. So, what do you do when you're not winning, when you feel like you're not winning? How do you react? What is your state? So, for me, I have to watch that. I'm watching how I'm handling my moments and watching how my people are handling their moments as well.
So you
Yeah.
say the toughest part is the timeline and dealing with people in general. Is that what is that how that's how I understand what you said.
And it sounds like, and also
Yeah,
making sure you
yeah.
have the right folks on board too, right? Because not everyone is cut out to do what you do, right?
Mhm.
You've got an engineering background, so I would imagine that you love numbers, details. You've got an analytical brain. You're okay with playing the long game, prepared for the long haul. You're not winning every single day. You're not making a sale every day. It's a long cycle that you have to go through to create the win way down the road. And would you say that's primarily who you have to surround yourself in the development game? Now, of course, you're cheerleaders or people who love to talk to people. You're going to need them later, right? To lease out the properties, maybe to sell the property. They have their role, but in order to be successful at the development game, a lot of it is internal game, playing the long game, understanding numbers, analytics, getting detail oriented, dealing with city governments, providing reports, paperwork. Am I painting the right picture, or am I way off base here?
No, it's very task oriented. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But the way that other people can win, even with your multifamily conversions, is they can be a passive investor. All this hard work may not be for them, and that is okay. They can get with you, they can invest with your hard work, and you have the experience that they can trust that way. So there's a place in this commercial real estate investment for everybody.
Gotcha. And after they hear this interview, if they were thinking they were going to be an active investor as a developer, they're probably going to want to be a passive investor with you instead. Yeah.
Oh,
so anyway, you had a follow up, Kimiki?
Yeah, I do have a follow up. Okay, so we know it's challenging to be a developer and to be an active real estate developer in general. Okay, so what are your challenges being a female developer?
Okay.
Whole nother layer.
All the guys on the call, close your ears. We don't want to give away our secrets.
Yeah.
But I think that, a lot of people have that challenge. So, and it may not be female specific, but what I've done, for the past 20 years maybe, is I've used my initials in business. And so people get an email from me and it'll say DL Campbell, and then we'll have a conversation. They'll see the skill set, and then we'll pick up the phone and have a call. They'll go, oh well, because they won't know that it's a female.
Yeah. Too late. You got by that filter.
Yeah, that's right.
You should say, gotcha.
Okay, now I understand why she used DL. Okay.
You know what? When I saw that and then I realized you were female, I understood why that could be a strategic move and could be a strategic advantage. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of look at how people are seeing us, and it has really nothing to do with our skill set, right? But it has to do with maybe the way they were raised, or their perception of how a female developer would handle things. So, and also as a female, I have to watch how I react to some things and not be overly emotional. So I have control over the way I present. So, it goes both ways. Actually, there is a great book series. I forget this lady's last name, but she has a doctorate in psychology. Louise Frankel. She wrote Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office, and Nice Girls Don't Get Rich. Because as a female, I needed to know, how am I acting like a girl when I expect to be treated like a woman? So I need to act like a woman if I want to be treated like a woman. So it was really that was really good book.
Well, who's the author again? Lisa Frankel?
Louise Frankel, Lois Frankel, PhD, and it's also on Audible.
Gotcha. Got it. Wow, very cool, man. Okay. I had a question. You made a comment. So your comment was, man, this is a big pie, a $200 million project. And you mentioned that this is too big for any one person to take down. And so you utilize what you call a co-GP model. You have a co-GP team. Can we dive into that a little bit? What does that mean? And break that down for us, and so we understand how the heck you put, for anyone who might have the idea that, oh, I want to do exactly what DL is doing. There's probably not a lot of people saying that, but maybe you're inspiring some people. So what is it? How does that work? Co-GP model.
Well, with the co-GP model, it's a co-general partner versus a limited partner who are passive investors. They like being passive, and that's fantastic. But with a co-general partner, this is our model anyway. We require the co-GP to give us 8 to 10 hours a week of work. We're pushing for these entitlements right now. We require one face-to-face meeting by WebEx per week. And then they also come in with skin in the game, $50,000 or $100,000. So they're coming in as a working owner. I think that working owner is a better title, but everybody probably hears co-GP or GP, general partner. So that is working well with us. And what I found is we have an apprentice style interview. So if it works out after a few weeks, that's great. If it doesn't work out, that's great too. They don't come in with their own skin in the game, or working more than 1 or 2 hours a week doesn't suit them. So, we have to be flexible. For a few weeks, it's like herding cats. But we've got a stellar co-GP team right now. We have about 200 years of commercial real estate and construction experience. So we're keeping the work. That's our model for us. We're keeping the work, and we're also keeping the equity. So the opportunity there is, instead of giving away 60% of the project to a developer, we're keeping that equity and we're giving it away to investors, for long-term investors like you guys are. And we're keeping the working and keeping that profit as well. So it doesn't work for everybody, but it has been working for us, and we just have such a stellar team.
Wow. So what are some duties? So it sounds like working owner, they have to have skin in the game. So they basically come in typically 50 to 100,000 investment. It makes them a working owner, but it sounds like there's a little bit of time commitment, 8 to 10 hours a week of work. Then you have a weekly meeting. So what are some duties that they might have?
Sure. We are pushing for entitlement right now. So one of the things that is pretty common is we are doing an RFP, a request for proposal, 6 proposals, a quick 1 to 2 day proposal for a grading plan or a demo contractor. And then we'll bring the proposals back in, do a gap analysis, and choose a vendor and kick it off. And pushing to those entitlements, working with our city partner to make sure that we meet their demands. And it's actually come in very favorable for the property, because we're finding that the consultants may or may not have read the muni code, the municipal code. And so working with the consultant and our city partner with our co-GP has been very efficient in terms of getting it right the first time and making sure that we get approval on that piece of entitlement. When the general contractor picks up, then we'll have a lot more free time, and we're going to start doing some analysis on some other properties. And then when we get our first building in about 12 months, then we'll start having some leasing opportunities there, and we'll pick back up on this property.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like primarily right now the focus is on you're racing to get it entitled. So there's a lot of paperwork, processing, filling out of documents and reports. So when you finally get to the point, so are there other roles typically then that actually are needed once you're done with the entitlement process? What are some other roles that you might bring on a coach?
Yes. Well, that's a great question too. We do have a couple of our co-GPs who have more people oriented. They're like a strategist, but emotion driven, a people oriented personality type. And so they have been happy to spearhead the capital raise. And that has been a good position for them and a good fit for them as well, because they're more people oriented. So we're working together on that as well.
Gotcha.
That's about it.
Yeah. All right. Got it. So, man, okay. So this is a long haul, heavy lift. When all is said and done, it's going to be a $200 million project. The capital required on it, if I do the math okay, it's over 100 mil. Right?
Yes. The vertical cost is 119 million. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And we're breaking that down into 3 financial phases of about $35 to $40 million.
Right.
So the way that is working, Bill, is we're bringing in about 4 or 5 million per phase, and it's rolling over. We have all of the rest of the capital stack raised. We've got hard money lenders. We've got the construction finance piece all, aligned about 4 or 5 times. And we're going to put a HUD loan on the project at the end when it's stabilized. And that'll give us an assumable loan for the exit buyer. And it'll be a non-recourse loan as well, which
Gotcha.
is very favorable for the exit.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're splitting up the development into 3 phases. It sounds like 35 million approximately per phase, and it sounds like your financing, your lender financing, is primarily maybe bridge or some type of construction financing. Typically, what percentage of is equity that you're bringing in for per phase or for the project?
We can bring up to 12 million total, 12 to 14 million total.
Per phase.
And let it roll, just let it season in the bank, use it for entitlements, expenses, let it season in the bank. The bank wants to see cash in the account. But here's the opportunity with this property is the cost is $6 million. And right now it's worth $9 million. So actually in the land, there's $3 million of equity today.
Nice.
It's fantastic. It's a godsend. But when we get entitled, it'll be worth $15 million. And this is why we're doing all of this, wild and crazy stuff. Is we get it entitled, it's worth $15 million. Now we have about $8 million in equity, and we bring that property to the bank as the asset, and it leaves a smaller amount of cash to bring in. Gotcha.
Nothing wrong with building up a little bit of equity before you even put one foundation in, right? Or you start building it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Very cool. Okay. Man, we can go on and on here, but I know we got to let DL get back to some building. Kimmy P, what
have a mini with the civil?
Yeah.
That's really, and I'm an engineer. I'm used to working on all the hard stuff or the detailed stuff, but to focus on the reward. If we can focus on the reward, what people are going to get out of it, freedom to choose how you want to spend your day, creating generational wealth, passive income, all of those things, creating a massive amount of capital to put in the next project. Those are big reasons to keep going, right?
Yeah, definitely. Very
I'm
cool.
I think we got a lot of good information, but I think we don't have time. But I always like to know what DL trial and tribulation for her to get to the point where she is. But I don't know if she can fit it in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe do we need? Yeah, maybe we have to bring you up
You
on
want to
another
take
section.
you want to take
Yeah.
a crack at it? She always likes to get like, oh man, was there some what are you asking for? Like an occurrence in her life? Or
No, it's like because for her, everybody start out somewhere with real estate or thinking,
Right.
but
Yeah.
for them to start taking action, it wasn't that like kind of that fast. So
it ain't all sunshine and rainbows all the time.
yeah, so
We have learning lessons along the way.
so the first thing I was like, I
Yeah.
wanted to know is, what was the turning point where you decided this is what you want to do, okay, and that you take
Right.
massive action, okay? And I'm pretty sure you have your
Very
trial and
good.
tribulation that you probably at one point you said, you know what, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But then something happened and you just kind of pushed through and you become who you are today because you didn't give up. Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So the reason
absolutely.
the reason why I'm asking is because in general, we all have challenges. Okay, everybody have challenges. What makes somebody else successful is they didn't give up from somebody who just gave
Yeah.
up. Okay, so I'm just
Right.
curious to find out through your journey, what are the first thing is, how did you even get to the point where you would take massive action? That's one thing. Second thing is, what were your turning point where, what was something happened that, or was it everything was going good, or you had something that you kind of rethink about, oh, do I really want to walk down this path? And then you say, oh, something
Right.
happened, the light bulb turned on and say, okay, this is it, I'm going. So I'm curious.
I think those are very, very valid things to contemplate, to think about, because we need to have a reason why. We need to have something up here that we are focused on outside of ourselves to make us reach. And when I was working as an engineer, I had a bright, shiny career, working in a 23, 25-story glass beautiful building. And it's a little bit of a facade, right? I think there are people too who have professions that they've built over decades, and they're time starved. That's one reason to do something different. Also, there were a lot of offshore from a lot of different countries happening in the engineering career. And it made me think, okay, the writing's on the wall. I need to diversify. And I wish I had diversified earlier and found out about commercial real estate. But, it's where I am right now. It's where we are. We are where we are. There's always something that happens that makes us go, oh, wow, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? But if we have a strong reason why, like diversification, building generational wealth, having a backup plan, something more than, just a flippant going on a cruise or something. It's something that is really a deep need in our lives, then we have something solid to go right to. And it makes us get up every day and go, okay, I'm building generational wealth. That's my why. You don't even have to think about it twice. It's like, that's what we do.
Yeah. Have a big reason why. I think a lot of, there's a book there. You just reminded me of another book, Simon Sinek, Start with Why. And I think it's all about having a reason why. Yeah. So, all right, Kimmy P, any other final wrap-up questions or two? We got to let
No.
DL get on.
Okay, so I wanted DL to share tips on for somebody who wants to get into the development space. Okay, what are some things that they should consider before they jumped in?
Well, they should consider how they're wired. One of the great resources that I found, because you're not going to find a lot of training on this, is uli.org. It's urbanlandinstitute.org, uli.org. And it's actually in most cities, which is very good. It's all over the world, and it's a great resource. You'll find engineers, architects, interior design, city council, financiers, and then it breaks it up into retail, industrial, office, and multifamily. So you can pick your space as well. Figure out how you're wired. Go to some of the meetings that are at uli.org to get some training. And that's how I started, is I got a lot of training and then I figured out what to do. So I'm glad that you reminded me, because it's a little known secret, Kimmy, and
Cool.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, that's great. Determine how you're wired. Go to uli.org. It sounds like that will help you immensely. And also, I would say, listen to this interview again. And if it doesn't scare the crap out of you, maybe this is for you.
Maybe leave.
Or maybe you reach out to DL and be a co-GP.
There you go. There you go.
I love it, you guys. Love it, you guys. I appreciate your interview style.
Yeah. So there you go. How can folks get in touch with you for whatever? Maybe they want to invest with you. Maybe they want to be a co-GP. Maybe they want to tap your brain. What's the best? Is there a website? Do you have social? Is there email? What's the best way?
Yep. We're at honorswaygroup.com, and it has our current project, and honorswaygroup.com. So they can listen to this interview again. A lot of great stuff has come out of it, you guys. I appreciate it so much. So let us know how we can be of help.
Yeah, awesome. This was fun. This was fascinating, very enlightening. I'm sure it'll inspire a lot of people, scare a few others, but you know what? I think that's the way it has to be. But this was fascinating. DL Campbell, thank you so much. We can't wait to see this brand new shiny Class A unit when it all is said and done. But we'd also love to hear the stories while you're in the middle of it too.
Okay, great. I appreciate being on the Masters of Real Estate. Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, DL. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Bill and Kimmy again. Just a couple things before we let you get out of here. First off, if you want to make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to sign up for our newsletter at www.mastersofrealestate.net. Not only will we notify you every time a new episode gets uploaded, you'll also receive exclusive tools, tips, and resources to help grow your real estate investing business and portfolio. So go ahead and sign up now at www.mastersofrealestate.net.
And secondly, if you got some incredible value from this episode or any of our other episodes, it would really mean a lot to us if you give us a review. 5-star reviews are always the goal, but of course, please only provide one if you truly got a 5-star experience. You can submit your review on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again soon. See you then.
Bye-bye.